Dudes and dudettes, how are you guys? This is Chazzy and welcome back to Chazzy's Top 10, the segment of this channel where I give you guys a random top 10 list of a random topic that I select randomly. Everything about this is just a raging cascade of randomness, and today I'm going to be doing my final football related video on this channel, at least for a very long time, until I come back here playing Madden NFL 24 or 25, whatever. It's gonna be a long time is my point, so I'm gonna go out with a bang and give you guys my personal top 10 list of who I consider to be the 10 best football players of all time. The NFL football, okay? All you dumb, annoying Europeans out there saying that football is the way we're sitting there, for bloody hell. No, in America, football is one thing, soccer is another, okay? And this is going to be a very interesting culmination because I've been doing a few player profiles recently, you know, some of which will be included on this list, of course, but there will be some that I've never talked about, so I think that's going to be pretty exciting to do, you know? And this is not a traditional top 10 list in the sense that I count down, I actually go backwards. I start from number 1 and work my way down to number 10. It's just easier for me. I've always done it this way, you know, so this is going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited, you know, but it's probably going to take a while, so let's just go ahead and just get right into it, right? Now, number 1 is obviously, without any shred of a doubt, I'm pretty sure if as soon as before you even open this video, you knew what number 1 was going to be. Tom Brady.
Brady goes for the deep shot. He's got a touchdown! Scotty Miller! Oh my God!
Even the most casual football fan knows who Tom Brady is. Even if you don't like football, you know who Tom Brady is, right? He played from 2000 to 2022. He retired recently. His first 18 seasons were with the New England Patriots, where he formed this really strong dynasty with Coach Bill Belichick, you know, won a bunch of Super Bowls. Then he went to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, he has gone to 10 Super Bowls in total with these two teams, and he has won 7. 7 Super Bowl rings to Tom Brady's name. That is more for one player than any other team in the NFL, just to give you an idea. And he was also a 5-time Super Bowl MVP, and he is the only quarterback to win a Super Bowl in 3 different decades, and he was the oldest Super Bowl MVP at 43, man. Imagine that, being in your early 40s and still throwing touchdown passes after touchdown passes, man. And speaking of throwing touchdown passes, Tom Brady retired with an official count of 89,214 passing yards to his name. That is a lot, man, which he used to convert 7,753 completed passes. So, whoa, it's a pretty impressive ratio. Tom Brady was just insane on the field, man. He had this amazing vision that was really hard, you know, to predict where he was going to throw the ball, and he would always connect perfectly. And considering the fact that he was drafted 199th overall in the 6th round, he is considered to be the biggest draft steal in NFL history. And he has way too many records in the league to count, way too many quarterback records. I'm not even going to get into them, you know, but let's just say he's awesome, right? One thing that I most love about him is his long passes, those insane Hail Marys, man. He threw one with the Buccaneers that's still ingrained in my head today, you know, which is actually the one that I showed you the clip earlier. Bro, that was insane. The way that he would call audibles and run plays, you know, his dagger passes, everything was just perfect. Tom Brady was dominant, especially with the Patriots, but, you know, he formed this kind of like culture around football that made them unstoppable, so it's one of the reasons why he's the GOAT and many others, right? But me personally, I think I like him a little bit more with the Buccaneers because that's when I started to watch football. So yeah, Tom Brady at number 1, baby, the GOAT. You know, Tom Brady never having a losing season was pretty impressive across his career, but the next player, oh boy, this next one here deserves a lot of merit because he played in an era where the NFL was a much, much different sport, man. The legendary running back, Jim Brown.
106 rushing touchdowns, all while never missing a game and retiring at the height of his career.
Good old James had a very stellar playing career from 1957 to 1965, entirely with the Cleveland Browns, where he did things that honestly, man, no running back has ever achieved the same way since, you know, because for one thing, he won the NFL championship in 1964 and was also a 3-time NFL MVP. Remember, this was the pre-Super Bowl era before the 70s, you know, so there was no Super Bowl, it was the NFL championship, and on that occasion, he actually scored 100 touchdowns in 93 games, which was a record, you know. That is freaking freaking insane, man. And 64 was arguably his best season, but he just kept getting better. He would play through injuries like a pro. I think in the previous season before that, he was playing with a broken toe. You know, it was crazy, man. And this guy was just punishing. He would never let a play end by going out of bounds. If you wanted to tackle him, you had to really work for it. It was really rough back then. You would not take this guy down without a fight. He would give his all in every single play, which allowed him to rush for a grand total of 12,312 rushing yards in his entire career. And he also has 2,499 receiving yards, 1 yard short of making it 2,500, man. That is freaking insane. Another impressive accolade is that he actually led the league in rushing yards in 8 out of his 9 seasons in total, and he is the only player in history to this day to average 100 yards or more in a game. So, sorry, more than 100 yards in a game, which is crazy, especially for the time period that he played in, man. That was honestly the best decision that the Browns had ever made to draft him. But the next player is somebody that you could argue really transformed the entire era that he played in, especially the 80s. One of my personal favorites, quarterback Joe Montana.
Rice has just set a Super Bowl record with 12 catches. He's in motion. Montana, touchdown, John Taylor.
Mr. Joe Cool really was a walking highlight reel, man, throughout his time in the NFL. If you want to, you can go watch this video that I did some time ago, which is just about him, a little player profile, you know. And, you know, after I finished that video, I was like, you know what? I'm obviously going to put this guy in my top 10 list because, honestly, it's Joe, man. You know, this guy played from 1979 to 1994 with the San Francisco 49ers and the Kansas City Chiefs, where he won 4 Super Bowls. You know, in a time where it was really hard to accomplish that, and he was a 3-time Super Bowl MVP, man. Now, the impressive thing about him is that he could produce, you know, touchdowns and wins, you know, even in the dying seconds of games. He is considered to be one of the most, if not the most clutch quarterback of all time. You know, examples of his highlight plays, you know, in the 1981 NFC Championship game, he threw a game-winning touchdown pass, you know, with a few seconds left on the clock. Then later in Super Bowl 23, you know, in 1989, he threw a 92-yard drive all the way down the field for a touchdown. This guy was crazy. And as a quarterback, he passed for a total, let me rephrase that. He had a total of 40,551 passing yards. It would have been stranger if I said he passed for passing yards. And he also completed 3,409 passes in total, man. Joe was just amazing. He was unbeatable, especially in the 80s, man. He formed a very strong dynasty with the 49ers in the 1980s. That was insane, and nobody could stop them. You know, that was a time largely dominated by him. It was really hard to play football back then. The quarterbacks would really get roughed up with the sacks, man. He had scrawny legs. He was thin, but he could still run and, you know, do these plays. So it was really crazy how he had this almost like a full field vision with the audibles he would call, you know, the secondaries. You know, he would be throwing daggers and Hail Marys and slants like it was second nature, man. You know, and the crazy thing is that Tom Brady, a young Tom Brady, actually went to one of his games. I believe it was the aforementioned AFC Championship game, NFC. So it was crazy, man. You know, he could pass the ball to any receiver anywhere on the field, you know, and he would always give it his all. He would never give up, and he would just march the team to wins. You know, I just love the way he played, man. Just his insane vision, like the way he would think and pretty much read the entire game, you know. It was pretty crazy. And speaking of receivers, the next player here is arguably, possibly, unequivocally the best wide receiver in the entire NFL, because that's why he made my list, right? Jerry Rice.
Gerback to throw it. Wide open is Jerry Rice, and off to the races is Jerry Rice. Rice, touchdown from Gerback.
To give you an idea of how good Jerry was, his nickname was World for his amazing catching ability, man. When your nickname is World, you're doing something right. He played from 1985 to 2004 for 3 different teams: the San Francisco 49ers, the Oakland Raiders, and the Seattle Seahawks. And throughout his time with these teams, he won 3 Super Bowls, and he was elected just once the Super Bowl MVP. Probably deserved it a little bit more. And the thing with him is that he was very, very dedicated on and off the field. He was known for his work ethic, you know, like tailoring his uniform, you know, combing his hair, just looking good, because his motto was that if you look good, you'll play good, you know, you'll feel good. So he was really known for that. And it was really tough to stop this guy, you know, because he had quite a few records, you know, for wide receivers throughout the league. And in total, he actually had 22,895 receiving yards, which is freaking bonkers for a wide receiver in any era, and 1,549 receptions, so catches, right? So now he actually led the league in receiving yards and receiving touchdowns 6 times, you know, in total, which honestly, given how he played for the amount of time that he did, was pretty unprecedented. And he was known for making a lot of clutch game-winning catches, you know, at the dying seconds, making some touchdown passes or running into the end zone. This guy was insane, man, you know, multiple career records for wide receivers that have not been matched to this day. Jerry Rice deserves to be on any list of the best players ever, you know. And if you're talking about wide receivers, let me know in the comments just one of them who's better than Jerry Rice. I dare you to tell me, you know, because I honestly don't know. I honestly do not know, man. Freaking Jerry! The thing, he would run, man, get through everybody, you know, do the tackles and the rumbles and blah, 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 blah. Nobody could stop him, man. Way too much speed, reflexes, Jerry. And coming up next is one of the greatest running backs of all time, a true master at his craft and what he did on the field, a player who I've also talked about recently in another video. You know him, you love him, Walter Payton.
Now Bellini with a long count. They give to Payton on a sweep to the right side. He gets a block from Revisori. Spins back inside. Ripped by one man. Still on his feet. Struggles away at the 20. Still battling. Breaks away at the 15. The 10. The 5 and down to the 4-yard line. Sensational run by Walter Payton. He broke 4 different tackles.
Good old Sweetness here played from 1975 to 1987 with the Chicago Bears, where he became honestly just a force to be reckoned with on the field, because throughout his career he had actually rushed for at least 1,200 yards throughout 10 of his 13 seasons, 2 of which were shortened because of lockout, you know. And this guy here was just unstoppable, you know. He would truck through defenders, get through them, and whenever he had the ball and he was coming at you, you know you were gonna have a bad time. You were gonna have a very bad time. It's pretty much like trying to take on Jerry Rice in his prime, man, you know. If he was coming at you, he was gonna hurt you, whether intentionally or unintentionally. So the best thing that you could do is just get the hell out of the way, you know, or just pray that he wouldn't kill you, right? So he actually had quite a few impressive accolades, and he had this motto of never giving up. So he would give his all on every single play, and every season he would rush for so many yards, you know. He actually held the record for rushing yards, you know, yards from scrimmage, all-purpose yards, carries, anything that you can imagine for many years. And he did win a Super Bowl. He went to Super Bowl 20 with the Bears in 1986, and before that in 77 he won the NFL MVP. So he was very dominant, you know, and he gave the Bears quite a good stint throughout his time with them. Unfortunately, he passed away in 1999 while establishing quite a few different records, like for example his very impressive 15,269 rushing yards in total, which is crazy, man, quite a few yards per carry there, and 2,921 receiving yards in total. This guy was crazy, man, and he would actually be a multi-purpose player, you know. Sometimes he would be a running back, but sometimes he could play linebacker, quarterback, throw the ball, tackle. He was pretty much like a jack of all trades on the field, man. God, Walter. God, bro, it's such a deep dive, this video, man. It is such a freaking deep dive. But anyway, the next player is one who I've also already talked about in another video that I'm going to leave a link to here when the clip shows up. One of the most feared and intimidating defensive players in NFL history, the very, very, very awesome Lawrence Taylor.
Anderson, I think, is okay. He just needed a breather. This is Mitchell. Ooh, is he hammered in the back? Short of the first down. Cracked by Lawrence Taylor.
The LT was one of the most aggressive players on the field during his time, man. He really formed a strong dynasty with the New York Giants, where he played from 1981 to 1993, although his last game was in 94, but that's a little bit technical. Throughout his time, he established this powerful dynasty called the Big Blue Wrecking Crew that largely dominated the 80s and the early 90s, you know, in football. It was really crazy to stop them. There's a reason why they were called the Wrecking Crew, and Lawrence was just, bro, this guy was scary. Lawrence was scary, man, because when you were lining you up against him in the line of scrimmage and you looked him in the eye, you knew that could very well be your last moments of life. You know, this guy would come at you relentlessly. He would not give up, and it's almost like he was out for blood in every single game. You know, it was freaking crazy. And he was so dominant that he actually won 2 Super Bowls with the Giants, right? And also won NFL MVP. And the thing is that, you know, his first Super Bowl was in '87. It was Super Bowl 21, right? And it was already part of the wrecking crew where he also, you know, had quite a few tackles and sacks. So he was putting up a few records as well to his name. And, you know, Super Bowl 25 in 1991 was also largely dominated. He was already, you know, in the 90s, he was already starting to suffer injuries and not be as good as he was before, but it was still really scary. He's credited with changing a lot of defensive schemes and tactics, you know, and trying to basically make the players and coaches do different tactics that never work, you know. So he is pretty much the reason why the NFL has such tight markings today. You know, it's pretty crazy. You know, he even broke a quarterback's leg accidentally one time, Joe Theismann. That was an ugly one, man. And as a linebacker, you know, he primarily played as an outside linebacker, but sometimes would go on the inside as well. And he had a total of 1,089 tackles, which is really hard to imagine being tackled by him. It's pretty much instant death. And also 142 sacks, which is when you tackle specifically the quarterback. Lawrence was crazy, man. Just a mountain of a man. It's like a bulldozer coming at you, you know, from the line of scrimmage. So he could run after you and tackle you, you know, or right from the line of scrimmage already bring you down. So it was crazy. I can't imagine running down the field and seeing Lawrence running behind. I'd probably just give him the football and run into the locker room. Now let's move away from the defense and go right back to offense. Let's bring out the offensive team again, because the next player is one of the best quarterbacks in NFL history and of the modern era. A very old friend of Tom Brady, because they did have a bit of a rivalry for a while, you know. I'm pretty sure you're ready to know where this is going. The sheriff himself, Peyton Manning.
To Harrison, like last time he got picked. Here he's going long, and a man wide open. It's Wayne at the 15. He walks in.
The only reason Manning is so far down on this list is because he's one of the more recent players. You know, I do follow this specific kind of unwritten order of, you know, the oldest to the newest. That's the only reason why, okay? It makes sense this way. Don't at me, okay, y'all freaking Manning family, Jules fans, you know? His whole family, his father played ball, man, his brother played ball. It's freaking crazy. But anyway, so Peyton himself, you know, actually played from 1998 to 2015. So 18 seasons, 14 of which were for the Indianapolis Colts and 4 were for the Denver Broncos. He did win a Super Bowl with each of them, you know, and his second one, which was in Super Bowl 50, actually made him the first and so far only starting quarterback to win a Super Bowl with 2 different franchises. And obviously he holds many records, you know, as a QB. You know, like one of the most impressive is his multiple 4,000 passing yard seasons, right? Which is crazy. I don't even think Tom Brady has that. He does have a few records that Brady doesn't have, and the other way around. So man, they represented such a crazy rivalry in the NFL, dude. It was freaking insane. And the way that he would call audibles and like literally memorize the playbook so he could just call plays on the fly, you know, that guy pretty much had the playbook ingrained into his hand, into his brain, man. It was really crazy. That's why he was called the sheriff, right? A lot of creative plays here and there. He would pass, he would rush, you know, he would blitz. It was just insane. And throughout his entire career, he actually had a grand total of, and get ready for this, 71,940 passing yards, which is less than Tom Brady by like more than 10,000, but I still think it's pretty impressive because he did play for less. And he completed 6,125 passes, man. Whenever the Colts, you know, faced off against the Patriots, you know, or the Broncos as well, it was insane, man. Such great games, such great moments for NFL fans, dude. Holy freaking crap, you know? It's pretty crazy because like when he retired, it really felt like an entire, a big chunk of football nostalgia died off, you know? But yeah, it's pretty crazy. I just love the way he played ball, dude. And the next player is also a quarterback, and one that, bro, really deserves a spot on this list. He might not have been as good as Manning or Brady, but dude, there is no way you can make any list of the best players, especially quarterbacks, and not include Brett Favre.
Favre back to pass, pumps to the left, 8 seconds left. He gets away from the pressure, fires to the end zone. It's caught! It's Greg Lewis! Touchdown! Oh my heavens! Greg Lewis, welcome to Minnesota!
Now you see, Manning actually got a pretty good end of the deal, you know, because in 98 he was drafted as the first pick in the first round, whereas Brett was drafted in 91 as the 33rd pick in the second round. Got the short end of the stick, but he definitely went on to prove his merit because he played from 1991 until 2010 for 4 different teams. First the Atlanta Falcons, then the Green Bay Packers, where he spent the majority of his time, then the New York Jets, and then finally the Minnesota Vikings. With the Green Bay Packers, man, he led them to 11 playoff appearances and 7 division titles and 4 championship games, and he did win them their Super Bowl in 1997. It was Super Bowl 31, which was crazy, man. It was an insane game. That was awesome as hell. And Brett had such a crazy throwing arm, dude. Brett was just insane, and the way that he could spot the receivers, the running backs, everybody on the field at once, almost like he had almost like a laser vision, and like his eyes were magnetized to the players. He could call the audible and throw the ball way up the field. My favorite aspect of him is his Hail Marys. I love his long throws like Aaron Rodgers does today, you know, and Patrick Mahomes too, but I prefer Rodgers, you know, if we're talking about long passes. I just really like the way he throws it. Stupid fly. I love Hail Marys, man, and Brett had quite a few impressive ones, good clutch moments too. It was really hard to stop him, you know. He really formed a strong dynasty with the Packers. It was crazy, and he also has quite a few interesting records. For example, he has 321 consecutive starts, which is the most in league history, and he was also the first quarterback to do the following: get 70,000 yards, 10,000 passes, 6,000 completions, 500 touchdowns, and get a win over every single one of the 32 NFL teams at the time. All of this he did in his career. Go away now. All right, so, and as an individual, as a quarterback, he had 71,838 passing yards, and he also completed exactly 6,300 passes. I love that number so much, man. That is freaking awesome. I just love even numbers. It's freaking insane. You cannot make any list of the best players without even mentioning Brett Favre, especially quarterbacks. And the next player, well, he's pretty cool too. He's going to be running back, you know, into this list here. I'm so sorry, I'll stop with the dad jokes now. The next player is Barry Sanders.
Yeah, but if people had to make up signs like that, I mean, they ought to just, you know, go to their homes and read books.
Sanders still on his feet, and Sanders is gone.
You could very easily include Sanders in a list of the greatest NFL players never to win a Super Bowl, and bro, it's really, really crazy how he never managed to, because this guy was dominant as hell as a running back throughout his time. He played entirely with the Detroit Lions from 1989 to 1998, you know, and it's kind of crazy because he did win an NFL MVP in 97 and yet never took them to the Super Bowl. Never, as far as I know, division titles or conference titles, you know, he didn't take them to the playoffs, but he was still very, very dominant in what he did, you know. He was a very elusive runner. He was quick and agile, you know, despite being only 5'8" and weighing 203 pounds, man. This guy was a force to be reckoned with on the field. It was insane, dude. You know, he did produce quite a few impressive highlight reels, you know. He had a few clutch moments as well, a lot of receiving touchdowns, you know. I love this guy. He's really cool, and I really wanted to include him on this list, but the fact that he never won a Super Bowl is one of the reasons why he's so low on the list, you know, but I can't, man. You cannot make a list and not include good old Barry. So now, as an individual, he actually has 16,726 rushing yards in total as a running back, and also 4,538 receiving yards, you know. So he wasn't as dominant as Walter Payton, for example, you know, but you can't let the fact that he never won a ring, you know, make him any less of a player, because he was phenomenal. This guy was crazy, you know. It was really, he pretty much brought the Lions up, you know, from the abyss before they went on to have that disastrous season, you know, just 10 years later in 2008. I don't even want to get into that right now, but he did put the Lions on the map. He turned them into contenders, you know, and honestly, the fact that he never won a Super Bowl is just sad, man. It's one of the saddest cases of a player never winning, you know, in this case. But still, man, Sanders, there we go, you know. Good, that Super Bowl! He did lead the league in rushing 4 times, you know, so that's something to be proud of, you know. And Barry usually averaged around like 1,500 rushing yards per season, and also a little under 100 yards per game, you know. So that's a lot of rushing yards, man. That's a lot of rushing yards. So I gotta be proud of him. Gotta be proud of him. The same probably can't be said for the last player, because he probably has the worst name in NFL history, you know, and he also never won a Super Bowl, but I had to include him here. I had to give him like a little nod here at the end, you know. I'm not putting him last because he sucks. It's just that I don't know, man. It's really hard to talk about Dick Butkus. It's a good thing this guy played on defense, because if he was a quarterback, you know, I don't think anybody would respect him with that name, you know. But bro, seriously, Butkus completely redefined the middle linebacker position, and he became the gold standard for what linebacker should be, you know. This guy was relentless, you know. He was brutal, and he would like when he would tackle a player, it felt like, you know, he was trying to put him in the cemetery rather than the hospital, you know. And if he broke bones, I think he would just keep going. This guy was just freaking crazy. He was fierce, he was aggressive, and he was physical. He played this old-fashioned, old-school gridiron football, you know. And he actually played entirely with the Chicago Bears from 1965 to 1973, you know, where he unfortunately did not take them to playoff success, never won a Super Bowl, but he himself individually was an 8-time Pro Bowler, and he was also a 2-time NFL Defensive Player of the Year, which is pretty okay, you know. It's not bad by any standards. So it was crazy, man. This guy would come at you, he would force turnovers and create even more, you know, he would create fumbles with his really jarring tackles, you know. And he like, it's really crazy because this guy was a well-conditioned animal, you know. He was a beast on the field, man. He wouldn't care. He would go all out, you know. Like, imagine if he had won Super Bowls, or yeah, back then it wasn't Super Bowls, right? It was the pre-Super Bowl era. But I mean, even if he imagine if he had won more titles, you know. It was really crazy for you to get past Butkus, and if you managed to get past him, you automatically deserve the rushing touchdown. Like, the rest of the team could just let you run down the field, man, because you would have earned that. You really would have earned it, man. It was freaking crazy how this guy played, you know. And like, he was really feared because of this. He was very intimidating, and he was like, to this day, would go down in history as probably the fiercest linebacker, even more so than Lawrence Taylor, you know. I would love to see them play against each other. That would have been insane. But anyway, so as a linebacker, he actually had a total of 22 interceptions, you know, so 22 times he caught the ball from the opposing team, and he also had 11 sacks. So that is 11 times tackling specifically the quarterback, and he also had 27 fumble recoveries. So he would cause a fumble and get the ball back 27 times, you know. So it was pretty good, man. You know, he actually had a very, very interesting repertoire, you know, and unfortunately he never won any major titles, but still goes down in history, you know, especially with that very unique name of his that I can't say too many times, or else maybe I'll get, you know, I'll get flagged or something. But anyway, guys, I think I'm gonna wrap this up here. I got through my cheat sheet, you know, finished up this video, and it felt pretty good. It was a lot of fun, you know. I really, really liked it. So yeah, man, the same way as Butkus with his relentless effort, I relentlessly efforted my way to this video here, my final football related video in a while. It's gonna be bittersweet to top this off, but hopefully you guys enjoy it, you know. Hopefully it didn't get too long. I'm not gonna do any honorable mentions, not gonna talk about the players that I had to painstakingly remove from this list, you know. I'm not gonna do that because I want to shorten it too. So it's all good. Let me know in the comments, know if you're a football fan, if you agree, disagree, what players you would include or exclude, and what position you would put them in. Let me know, man. Let's have a little debate in the comment section, because I love you guys. And also, if you happen to like this video, please go ahead and give it a like, and also subscribe to my channel, because I release videos every single day. And while you're at it, hit the notification bell too, so you can know exactly what time I upload. And it's all good. It's all good. This is Chazzy signing out for now, exhausted as hell. And as always, I will see you guys in the next video. Roll the outro screen.